Let's talk about what the woman's role is in producing godly seed. And we talked about this last time, and this will help us to see what the first part of the formula is for lost children, the AM. Here's what the woman is supposed to do. We're just going to jump right into this. The woman's role in producing godly seed, and we're going to talk about the man's role the next time we talk. But the woman's role in producing godly seed is this. She is to focus her immense skills and energy on caring for, supporting, and training her children. So we're going to talk about the man's role in this, but right now we're talking about the woman's role. The woman's role is to focus her immense skills and energy on caring for, supporting, and training her children. And this is where we get to the first element of the formula, the reason that we are losing our children, and one of the reasons that God is sending us back into our homes, fathers, mothers, and children, and saying, hey, you need to go back and look at this whole design again. This is the first part of this formula, is an absent mother. If you want your child to be lost, if you want your child to be condemned to hell, if you want your child to abandon the faith and become lost, then the first thing that you need to do to accomplish that is for the mother to be absent from the home. You remember that when we talked about God's design for the man and the woman as shown in creation, we see that God made the man, and He told the man before He had ever made the woman that he was to go out and tend the garden and manage the garden and keep the garden. And remember, there was no woman alive at that point. Then He makes the woman, and we showed you that even from the word used for woman, that she is the female form of the man. So man is the template, the prototype, God's first design, and from that first design, He alters and creates a woman, and the woman is the feminine form, the female form of the man. And then we noticed that in God's curse upon Adam and Eve for their sin in the garden, He curses the man in the area of work, which is where man gets his meaning, where man is to focus his life, and then He curses the woman in the area of childbirth, which is the core of her being. The reason that she exists is to focus on children, and we can see that even in the difference between a man's body and a woman's body. So when we see that the woman is to focus on the children, and she is to use her immense skills to do that. And then we see in our culture that women are not doing that any longer, that they have changed the design to something God has not prescribed, something that's not going to work the best in creation. Then we start to see why we're having these lost children. Absent mothers, mothers being away from the children. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? You say, okay, Wes, I see these scriptures that you've talked about. I see this formula that you're presenting. I'm starting to get what you're trying to say here, but why does it really matter? Why is this design the best? Why does it work the best? And it works the best because of this. Listen to me now. Your children will turn out like the people they have around them. That's why this matters. Whoever your children are with, they are the ones giving your children their worldview, their values, their faith system. They're the ones. So if it's not you, if it's not the mother at home, under the authority of the husband, at home teaching the children, training the children, being with the children, and ingraining those values, teaching that faith, and developing those spirits, then the other person is. And what you have to realize is all those other people are godless. In the vast majority of cases, they're godless. 1 Corinthians 15:33, do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. Don't be deceived. Don't believe it for a second. When we get to talking about public schools, we'll talk about this even more. But even from babysitters and the folks that watch your kids when they're, the preschools and the nurseries, these are all people who, most of them don't know God. They're not going to instill in them the values that you have, and therefore your children are going to become like them. Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. Don't be deceived. You see, if you think that your children are not being influenced, you think their values are not being swayed and turned from your values when they're outside of the home, when the woman's out working, and the man's out working, and the children are out there in the world, whatever age they are, if you don't think they're being influenced, if you don't think the things you're trying to teach them are being altered, changed, and in fact destroyed, you're being deceived. You're being deceived. You're tricking yourself. And the empty pews show that you're being deceived. Proverbs 13:20. He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. This means that if you spend your time with wise people, then you will turn out like those people. You're going to be like whoever you're around. And then there's another one. I'll look at this later again when we get to education in a couple of sessions. Psalm 106, 35 and 36a, it says of the Jews, they mingled with the Gentiles. That means they interacted. They walked with them. They had evil company. They walked with fools. They engaged with them. They didn't just try and evangelize them and kind of pull back to safety. They became a part of them. They intermixed with them all the time. They learned their works. Notice it. Mingled. They learned their works. It goes into the mind, what we're learning from the outside world. And then what did they do? They served their idols. They served there's the formula right there. They mingled, they learned, they served their idols. My friends, that is why it's so important that this design of God's be maintained. Because if it's not maintained, if both parents are out working, then the children cannot but learn and mingle and serve the idols. And that is what we are seeing. That is why it matters.